Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. My name is Mitch Case. I am also the co-founder with my lovely wife of the company More Than a Meal, right here where we help organizations strengthen their most valued relationships with clients and employees by showing gratitude, appreciation, and empathy one meal at a time. The reason we started this show was the intent and purpose to highlight individuals and organizations that are working hard day in and day out, not just to build an amazing business, but build a business that people want to be a part of, to build a culture that is inclusive and just thriving, while at the same time creating this idea and concept of more than just a business. So, with that, we come to you every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time with new leaders, new organizations that are doing things the right way and are seeing their organizations thrive because of this. So, I'm really, really excited to continue to invest in my time and energy into this, as well as the guests coming in here. But I do want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, True Captive. They believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that isn't complicated. So if you do want to learn more about that unique captive healthcare program, just go on over to truecaptive.com. Otherwise, you can reach out to me and I'd be glad to get you guys connected with them. So with that, our next guest of the show is Shawn Sullivan. He's the CEO over at oh my gosh, Shawn, I just went blank on that. Midland Care Connection. Excuse me so much on that one. But Shawn and I got connected through a mutual friend of ours, Nick Prather. And part of this is just like organic conversations that come up. And after our first conversation with Shawn, I just knew for a fact like Midland was going to be a company that we wanted to have on this show. So without further ado, Shawn, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Mitch. Glad to be here.
You bet. You bet. Well, go ahead and help us out. Give us a little high level on who you are, what your position really entails, and what Midland Care Connection even does.
Sure. Happy to do that. So I am first, most importantly, a husband and a father of four. I have four kids that range from 21 to 13 years of age. Worked in healthcare most of my life, primarily in environments that serve older adults and seniors in a variety of settings. Grew up as a son of a nurse, which partly is why I decided to get into this. And for the first dozen or so years of my career after college, I worked primarily as an administrator, executive director of senior living communities around the state of Kansas. Second part of my career, took a little bit of a curveball and worked in state government and politics.
Oh, yeah.
Appointed as cabinet secretary for Governor Sam Brownback here in Kansas, overseeing the Department for Aging and Disability Services, which encompassed a lot of different programs and responsibilities. Had a couple more roles in government, and then a couple of years ago was blessed to end up where I am now as president and CEO of Midland Care Connection. So Midland Care started in the late 70s, and it was actually one of the first hospices in the country, and it was born out of a desire to do end-of-life care better for people in the communities that we serve that needed it. And just over time has significantly grown and added new programs, added new services, added new markets, new service lines, et cetera, et cetera. So today we serve around 2,200 people a day, primarily in 22 counties in Northeast Kansas. So we kind of stretch from Manhattan to Kansas City down to Emporia and all parts, including rural areas in between. And we do that through, so our corporate umbrella name is Midland Care Connection. Our service lines are Midland Care Hospice, which again was the reason we were started in the 70s, added Midland Care Adult Day Services, added Midland Care Home Health, Midland Care Palliative Care. We have a program that serves about 1,000 people a day through actually meals, providing meals through a company called Meals on Wheels of Eastern Kansas.
Yeah.
Then we have a program, kind of little known, but actually it's our largest one, called PACE, that I'm sure I'll talk about here in a minute. So we do those things. We also, last year, started a new hospice in Central Kansas called Community Care Hospice, and then also started a deal called an accountable care organization with a couple other organizations in other states. So altogether, serve about 2,200 people. Our mission, which we care deeply about, is carried out by 550 staff and about 1,000 volunteers. So it's deeply personal to what we do to those that we serve, either paid or unpaid as volunteers.
Goodness, you sound like you got your hands full with a lot of different and moving parts, and we'll definitely get into that in a minute. Before we jump into our impact story for the show, um, I do want to let anybody that is tuning in live right now or tuning in later just shoot anything over into the comments. Let us know where you are listening to, watching from, both city and platform. If you have any questions for Shawn as we continue through this conversation, shoot them in there and we'll try to get to those at the end if we do have any. So, with that, Shawn, we'll go ahead and get started. First question we always ask is, tell us about a personal impact story. And that's really intended to talk about maybe something that you, a team member, or the organization itself has had a positive impact on a client, a team member, staff member, volunteer, whoever that may be. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Thank you. So most of the meetings that we have with an organization, we have what we call mission moments, either to begin or to end the meeting, or training, education, whatever it is. Those are meant to staff to tell stories or volunteers to tell stories about how we've made an impact on those that we serve. And I heard one 2 or 3 weeks ago that kind of really stuck with me, and I thought was a good demonstration of kind of what we do. So it's actually from a person that we serve, somewhat general, not to give away too much information to his details, but it's a person that we serve through a program called PACE, which I mentioned a minute ago. It's program or acronym that stands for the Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly. We're one of 3 PACE providers in Kansas, and we have PACE programs in Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas, Emporia, KCK, and are adding one in Olathe. And it is a program, I don't know if your listeners or viewers or you have had to take care of aging parents that are struggling and have significant health needs, or grandparents, loved ones, neighbors, church members, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of personally going through this now with my parents, and it can be a struggle. So just trying to track what they need from their physician to specialists, know what medications they're taking. Most of the people that we serve through this particular program are also 99% of people we serve are on Medicaid. So that also creates additional challenges where they often have difficulty with housing, transportation, finding a provider that will take care of them.
Yeah.
So what this program, PACE program, does is the government essentially pays us through the Medicaid and Medicare program, not to get too deep into that. And they essentially say, here you go, here's a set amount we're going to pay you every month for every person you serve. You can do a better job than what can be done on its own in the healthcare system that's very siloed and fragmented. So that's kind of PACE in a nutshell. We're taking very people with significant needs, trying to keep them at home. If we weren't taking care of them, most of them would be living in a nursing home.
Yeah.
So we had a story a couple of weeks ago, as I said, of a participant, as we call them in this program, that we had served for a while, and the housing situation that he was in kind of had gotten to the point where it was not ideal. So air conditioning that wasn't working in his apartment, pesticide problems in his apartment as well, and just got to be kind of a significant problem for him. And as you can imagine, if that happens for an older adult that also has significant health challenges, that kind of compounds the difficulty of being able to stay at home and manage as they or another person is trying to help them. So we have our PACE staff, and it's a team of staff that take care of the PACE participants. We have 11 people on that team. The 11 people range from physicians that we employ to nurses, social workers, nutritionists, therapy, home health aides, even drivers. And in this situation, our PACE in-home support team had really been encouraging this gentleman, hey, why don't we, can we try to find a different place for you to live that's better? And he just was real hesitant to do that. So they kept on that, eventually kind of helped him decide, yeah, I do need to move. This is not where I want to be. It's not a safe place for me to be. Can't live my best life where I am now. So our social worker that was on his team helped him find an apartment, helped him find something that was available, helped him find the paperwork. he did not have family or other community support. So that social worker helped him fill out that paperwork,
Yeah.
find donations from the community to help him move to a furnished apartment. So he was able to do that to a much better situation. Actually saved him, I think, a couple $100 a month in rent utilities.
Wow.
Another apartment cost him less. And then he just was able to kind of go from there as far as improving everything about his health, his aspects of his life, living his best life. So our home support team was then able to go in and provide assistance to him on a daily and weekly basis, help him get him what he needed. Our therapists were able to go into his apartment, provide the equipment in his apartment that was needed for him to stay at home and help him get stronger. Our social workers were able to continue to help him. Our drivers would go and pick him up from his apartment, take him to what we call our pay center, which has an adult day center, a gym, and a physician clinic, and just really get him plugged into that and socializing through our pay centers, and just kind of caused him to be kind of a 180 to where he was. And just that helping him find a better housing situation kind of just led to a 180 in his life, to where his healthcare got better, his physical aspect of him got better, instead of kind of where he was headed. So I think that just
Yeah.
kind of demonstrates this particular program, what it does, and how that perhaps is, to the last point here, perhaps that's how that's different than a typical insurance program or state Medicaid or federal Medicare programs or commercial payers. Is we are in this program, we're the health plan, but we're also the provider. It's going to take our staff's time, our social workers' time, to go help him find a place to live, to fill out that paperwork, help him do that, set up the resources that he needs to be successful. But by doing that, if that wasn't done in a typical healthcare environment, especially for someone on Medicaid, what's going to happen is he's going to end up in a nursing home. He's going to end up going to urgent care, ER. His health's going to keep going spiraling downward. So spending that
Yeah.
time and money on the front end is helping him live a better life and be more healthy on the back end, which is kind of what we're incentivized to do. So I just love when that story was told a couple of weeks ago, because it really, to me, demonstrated the value of this particular program that we do.
Man, I mean, I'm sitting and listening because I do have a personal family member going through similar situations, not necessarily the exact situations there, but just needing extra help. And so much of his physical health and improvement tends to be when he's mentally stronger, and not necessarily like cognitive, but I'm just talking like mental health. When he feels like I can do this, or things are going well for him, or he has small wins, like it just helps his physical body. So I just can't imagine going from the living situation that individual was in to that 180, just changing the outlook on that person and having that opportunity to say like, all right, I got this, I can do this, and what that's going to do for him long term. You mentioned that you are the son of a nurse. Well, I am the spouse of a nurse. And one of the things that my wife has always said is that she's really focused on allowing people to have a good death. And it's it was always weird for me when she was talking about that, but she was really talking like not everybody has the opportunity to have a good death where you're surrounded by friends and family. You have the moments to get those things in place. And the experience that you said, had we not done this right thing, this individual had to go to nursing home, to urgent care, to ER, to who knows what would have happened, and that person would not have had a good end of life situation. And so I'm very grateful for your staff, your volunteers, and the organization you're running, just to allow that kind of impact on somebody when so often they can feel alone in those scenarios. So I love that one. I really appreciate you sharing that, and it makes sense why why you would want to share that one, Shawn. Well, I got to keep this show moving forward, so I don't want to just like erase that and keep going, because I think we could dive a lot deeper into that. But honestly, you kind of maybe stole some of your thunder for this next question a little bit with that. But I want to hear more about Midland Care Connection and what truly makes it more than a business. It's not just about the bottom dollar. Like what is it about Midland that truly is more than a business?
So we have organizational values that we care deeply about, and a mission that we care deeply about. The business that we're in of hospice, home health, Meals on Wheels, PACE, palliative care is deeply personal, similar to the reasons that you gave for your wife wanting to provide a good end of life experience. So kind of on a macro level, what makes this kind of more than a business is that deeply personal impact that we make and that our staff and volunteers make. And we're trying to make the communities that we serve better and the healthcare in those communities better. On a more micro level, it's more about, it's different for every program. But for Meals on Wheels clients, all they may need a day is one meal a day and a volunteer to check on them as they
Yeah.
deliver them their noon meal and say, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, how you doing?
Mm.
Everything going okay? Anything that you need?" And then if it's not, the report back to our staff. For hospice, it is in their last days and months of their life to provide a comfortable and safe, help them with their pain and their symptoms and what they're going through, help families to navigate what they're going through and understand the process. And after someone has passed, to be able to grieve appropriately and to grieve
Mm.
well. Just to this PACE program that I described the example of, to just helping them with resources they need, support they need, that they truly want to be able to stay at home, sometimes in a house they've been in for 40, 50 years,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
in a smaller apartment, but it's kind of living their best life wherever, whatever that looks like. So that is really what drives our staff. What drives us is our mission, kind of what always has since our organization was founded. We talk a lot about growth opportunities, and we have grown quite a bit over the last couple of years, which can be a blessing and a challenge at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to going and taking our PACE program into new area, primarily because of the mission. It's not to grow a fiefdom. It's we know people. We know there are lots of people in our area, in the state of Kansas and other places, that need what we provide and the unique programs that we offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want them to be able to have that.
This is not a question I prepped you for by any means, but it's interesting to me just with, talking with my wife and experiencing um kind of trauma on a daily basis and some of the nursing activity that she's involved in. Um, a lot of your staff and volunteers are dealing with people having a good end of life experience and losing somebody that they've gotten to know over time. Like, what kind of impact does that have? What does Midland do to kind of help navigate through that? And I almost see that as a strength to the organization and not something that's just a weakness by any means. But what kind of things do you guys do to navigate through that challenging grieving moment for your staff?
Yeah, and it's a great point that you bring up. And so our staff, take our hospice nurses or our hospice staff, an example. So we serve anywhere from 900 to 1,000 hospice patients in a year. So they're seeing hundreds of deaths in a year, and
Yeah.
that can certainly take a toll. You you want to be able to serve them and serve them well, become involved, help them through the process, make sure this is a good end to their life. Oftentimes, they see lots of wonderful things with family members and reconciliation, and
Mm,
most of our staff kind of feel this is their calling,
yeah.
and that certainly helps. But we spend, we're not perfect at it. We need to do better, but we spend a lot of time, kind of all staff, no matter what program they serve, checking in on their well-being, making sure that their life is balanced. That we do frequent check-ins and kind of can support our staff as we need to, and do training and all the things that it takes to make them successful and make sure they don't get burnt out.
Yeah. You mentioned reconciliation. Like, I got chills on my arms from that because how powerful that is. And I'm not going to dive deep into a story, but there was a friend of ours that lost their father, and there was some reconciliation between siblings due to that situation. And I can only imagine the power that that has if you're able to witness moments like that where you come to the realization that what's most important right now. Is it this feud that's been going on for decades, or is it truly just caring for the people that are next to you and your loved ones? So I just, yeah, it gave me some chills kind of talking about that, because it can be so powerful to witness that, which I've not witnessed anything like that personally, but I love that that's an aspect of your business. Um, let's keep moving here. We're going to run out of time soon, so I want to make sure we get to talk about you, Shawn. I mean, at the beginning of the show, you just mentioned, it's taxing caring for elderly at times. There's a lot of moving parts to that, and you're experiencing that right now with your elderly parents. But you're also the president and CEO of an organization that you're blessed to serve. What keeps you motivated to show up day in and day out? Maybe you only have 20% of yourself to give on some days, but what keeps you motivated to keep showing up and serving the people you're blessed to serve?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Mitch. For me, the short answer to that question is my own personal faith. I try to live out on a daily basis. That is the most important part of my life, and it drives what I do.
Yeah.
Kind of the longer answer to that, I always encourage people that start with us and they're going through orientation, and I've said this multiple times. I think it's important for anybody to kind of write down what's most important to them, what personal values they find important, and then try to find an organization that has values that align with your personal values. So,
Yeah.
the second part of my career, where I was working in government and politics, as that was coming to an end, it's been 7 6 7 years ago, I spent quite a bit of time thinking about, okay, what's next? Do I want to go be a lobbyist? Don't want to go to live in DC, work in DC, don't want to go do this or that. And
Yeah.
I spent quite a bit of time just thinking and praying about what's next, what works best, kind of how can I align my both personal values, my faith, and organizational values. And things that I thought about were, my personal values are professional values. I wanted to be in a job that didn't sacrifice my ability to be a good father and a good husband.
Amen. Yeah.
I wanted to work at an organization where I could make a profound impact. I wanted to work at an organization where I could live out my faith. I wanted to work in healthcare again, was important to me. At the end of the day, I wanted to be in a job. This might sound weird, but I wanted to be in a job where I had to do hard stuff, where the organization had to do hard stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be with an organization that had an ability to grow. So those were kind of 5 or 6 things that I kind of set as my own personal criteria for what I want to do next. And I was very much blessed that those aligned with the organization I'm with. And as you said, every day is different. Every day is a challenge. You don't always come with your best, despite sometimes best intentions. But
Sure.
if you are at a place where your personal values align with the organizational mission and values, it sure makes it a lot easier, if that makes sense.
It does. I had a mentor once tell me that he thought this notion of, you do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And he's
Yeah.
like, that's a lie, because I love what I do, but there are days that I want to burn this place to the ground. And he said, if you do what you enjoy and you're good at it, you're going to be able to endure those days that are not as joyful as the others. And it just kind of really resonated with me of finding something that, what am I good at? And what do I enjoy? And if I can align those things, whether it's paid or unpaid, oftentimes organizations, we think we have to go and, do the Lord's work to feel purpose in the work that we're doing. But if doing this job over here allows you to go and volunteer at Midland Connection, which is what really drives you and you care about, then who's to say this work you're doing over here is not purpose driven? So anyway, I just really appreciate you kind of sharing that, and, faith being a rock in what keeps you showing up day in and day out, but being very calculated and targeted with what you really want out of this next role, and being diligent and patient for that opportunity to show up. So with that, Shawn, we have reached the end of the show here. I always want to allow individuals, if anything that you said resonated with them, maybe they're experiencing some challenges with taking care of their elderly parents or anything along those lines, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, to connect with you?
So our website has a wealth of information to kind of give that pitch. It's midlandcare.org, which has our hotline 800 number. We have team of staff that all they do is answer the phones and serve as a resource for people that need help, whether it be for hospice, Meals on Wheels, PACE, home health, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a great resource. But people can get a hold of me as well just through calling that number or emailing me at ssullivan@midlandcc.org.
And I'll just echo in the sense that if you guys reach out to me, I'll be sure to try and get you connected with Shawn as well. Before we take off, Shawn, my wife and I want to just show our own gratitude and appreciation for you spending some time on our show that we truly enjoy. And we do that by allowing you to gift a meal to a team member of yours that, whether they're going through a tough life season or a joyful life season, but maybe tell us a little bit, as much as you can and are willing to, about why this person would be a great person to receive this gift.
Yeah, so I actually ask our volunteer department. Like we have, as I said earlier, about 1,000 volunteers, and most of them actually kind of man routes for our Meals on Wheels program that we serve, and serves about 1,000 to 1,100 meals a day. So it probably 80 routes that we have volunteers fill every day. So
Wow.
sometimes we have companies that will take a route once a week and fill that. Sometimes we have volunteers that do that every day of the week and month, and it's quite
God bless
amazing.
them.
So God bless them. So actually, as I asked out of my volunteer team, they said, well, we'd like to recognize John Dietrich. He is a very, very faithful Meals on Wheels client,
All right.
Meals on Wheels volunteer, and he delivers several times a week. And the neat thing about John is he does it despite some personal challenges with other things going on. So
Cool.
we thought it'd be good to bless John with a meal.
I love that. Yeah, just a side note with Meals on Wheels. I oftentimes get asked questions, are you guys Meals on Wheels? What do you guys do with this more than a meal thing? And I just want to make sure that everybody knows the really, really good work that Meals on Wheels does. And the fact that there are so many volunteers that make that happen. I tried to drive around for about a year dropping our meals off, and it is not easy. It's very time consuming, and you have to truly love the reason why you're doing that to continue to want to do that. So I look forward to helping bless him and serve him in a way that maybe he hasn't been served just yet. So after the show, Shawn, we'll get some info from you to make sure that we can get that out to him. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on this show. And for those that have tuned in live, we will be back next week on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have Sheila on the show with Sorella Group. She's a specialty contractor here in the Kansas City area. So we'll be diving back into the construction world. But Shawn, if you have any last words you want to give to our audience, otherwise I can go ahead and sign us off.
No, thank you. Appreciate the invite and talking about the special mission of Midland Care. Thank you.
You bet, Shawn, you bet. Well, my message to you guys is just continue to strengthen those relationships by showing gratitude, appreciation, and empathy. That can be done in so many different ways. So I'll leave you with that. And we will see you guys again next week on Thursday. Have a wonderful rest of your week.